by taking a little break from your work to make a video to address an issue that I saw discussed in a Get Off the X forum. And somebody asked a relatively innocent question about what video games you play. And I got out of gaming addiction a few years ago when I basically broke my gaming computer. And I'm not going to say that it's the most unhealthy addiction in the world to have, but if you're into this whole tactical prepper, survivalist type thing, there's a point when you need to realize that some of these lessons, and a lot of them, can go back and forth between the gaming world and real life. Because the gaming worlds that are created these days are simulations of a life in the game environment. So a lot of times the human interaction, especially in the MMO games, is the same as real life, but it happens in a different world. For example, World of Warcraft, it happens in the Azeroth world. In Star Trek Online, it happens in a version of the Star Trek universe. And that's the world these interactions happen in. And for a lot of people who might otherwise just be shut-ins or maybe aren't exposed to a more open society, they can then express themselves within the gaming world in manners which are not available to them in the real world. But they can learn a lot of real world lessons, especially when the games are being engineered to have activities, farming, mining, creating, crafting, guild membership, and all of the things that have to do with rising up in rank in the guild, or the new World of Warcraft system where the guild itself can rise up. And a lot of that has a lot of parallels in nation building process and things like that. Star Wars Old Republic, I think, is a game that recently got into situations where the guild or the group or the individuals, depending on how they set up their playing profile, can build mansions or mansions in the capital city, and they can build guild halls and things. And through various crafting and achievements and other things like that, they can have a virtual clubhouse that's a clubhouse in that world. And all of those things can translate to the real world as good, productive real world lessons. And what you need to understand, though, is if you really want to get into the survivalist prepper thing and be for real, as opposed to just another guy online who can talk the talk, is take a lot of these lessons and see how they apply to real life and practice it in real life. If you're spending 6 to 10 hours a day gaming, which I used to do, then you're going to find that, you're going broke or bad things are happening from the standpoint that are all related to you spending too much time in a game and losing sleep and then not performing well at work. That's another thing. It's another thing that happens with, just plain internet socialization addiction, which happens. I do that sometimes. I just spend too much time online. And one of the things you have to understand, though, is yes, there's a lot of pretty valid real-world lessons to be learned in gaming, especially a lot of the first-person shooter type games where there's teamwork involved. And I noticed that when I was a trainer in the National Guard. A few of the troops were gamers, and I had one guy who was kind of an online athlete in one of the early MMOs. And whenever we were doing tactical lessons in real world, he was always the first guy to get it, because it's like, yeah, this is like the game, isn't it? So yeah, it is. And we moved a lot of games, a lot of tactical lessons back and forth to the gaming world, especially when you find out who some of the consultants are for the games. For example, I was playing some standalone games, ones that didn't have as much of an online element, where one of the main consultants for the game was a guy named Dennis Chalker, who was one of the old school Navy SEALs, who was also a consultant for a lot of SWAT teams and a lot of tactical operations. And I think he went back in to the Navy as a subject matter expert, as a civilian consultant, civilian trainer. At the same time, he was running game scenarios with gaming companies and saying, well, this scenario we'll go this way, not that way. We want this kind of a mission parameter or these kind of profiles. Here's how the communication is going to happen between the players. So these are what, the communication choices and options and rules of engagement and all these other things are going to be. And if somebody got familiar with that game and then I was trying to train them in real life, we had kind of a sheet of music to work with. We said, okay, this is going to work. And it works for that, but there's a point when you say, okay, it's a lesson learned. We move on to other things in life, which is interesting because there's some games out now which I have no major desire to play, but I'm kind of interested in checking out, like one that's a farming simulator. And then, of course, we have business simulations which happen within the MMO. It's like World of Warcraft or Star Trek Online or Star Wars Old Republic, where there are definite, business and corporate structure simulations that happen within those gaming worlds as groups would quest for certain items to build things that build up the guild status and therefore benefit all of the players in that guild. Those things are all very socially engineered by the people that design and run those games. Also, you have to realize that. And so in that sense, is it a healthy or unhealthy activity? Well, how much is it affecting the rest of your life? And how much of it are you applying to real life? But there's a point when you got to turn the machine off and get out there and deal with the real world so that you're better off and put those lessons into practice. And that's the advice I would give, because I know people who, they're absorbed in it too far and I can't do anything with them. They wanted to get involved with some of the stuff I'm involved with. They're kind of on that sheet of music with, oh yeah, I'm in gaming, but, they're too absorbed with it. Can't work with them. And one of the guys had a heart attack and he's only in his 40s. And I know why. It's because he lived a sedentary lifestyle. And we're saying he is a veteran, and he's not. I don't buy that PTSD thing, unless somebody was actually, blown up and had a traumatic brain injury. I don't buy that PTSD shit. And so hustling for disability so that you can spend the rest of your life playing video games. Yeah, you're going to have a heart attack in your 40s and you're going to be on your deathbed before long because, your muscles have atrophied and all this other kind of shit's going on. And, that's something you got to look out for. And so, yeah, I think games are cool, but I stopped playing a few years ago when I burned up my gaming machine. And I've definitely started to become wealthier because of it. So anyway, more later.